Hello, I'm Anna Delaney with ISMG. I'm very pleased to be joined by Ray Heffer, Field CISO at Veeam. Good to see you, Ray.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, Ray, tell me a bit about yourself and some of the projects you're currently working on.
Yeah, well, I've been, for a start, I just want to say, first time back at RSA for 5 years. I'm pleasantly surprised. Been in the intersection of security and enterprise technology for a long time, 30 years. I don't want to put a date on it, it might age me a bit, but seen a lot of transformational shifts, I must say. I think over the years, and we've seen these big shifts, the most fundamental, most profound shift is AI. Certainly this week, I have not been able to escape that.
So you say you've been pleasantly surprised. Is it in terms of conversations you're having, themes that are coming up?
Yeah, just the scale, excellent conversations. I'm always blown away. You know, I would say this is my favorite conference of the year. That said, we had our Veeam On conference last week, so that's obviously my favorite because that's our corporate conference. But yeah, other than that, RSA is always my favorite, just the conversations. And honestly, it's not even the sessions or the keynotes, it's meeting people and it's the networking. That's what makes a difference for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been working on a project that intersects with AI and data protection.
Yes, it's hard to escape it. Well, there's a couple of things I've been doing. Certainly at Veeam, we've been using machine learning for a long time. AI is something we're doing now with something called Veeam Data Intelligence. And if you think about what we do as a software vendor, we touch the most business critical data, for all of our customers, and having those insights is key. But even on a personal level, I'm on an advisory panel for a startup, so looking at where AI security is shaping. It's certainly interesting, and we can talk more about this, where certainly things like privacy, and that's what matters to me personally, is because at the end of the day, when there's a breach, when there's a ransomware attack, it's our personal information that's being exposed by these threat actors. And I think AI is a double-edged sword. We're seeing from the defender point of view, it's excellent. We're gaining the ability to do things faster, analyze vast amounts of logs, for example, that would take many people and many hours. AI can help us with that. But on the adversarial side, they're using AI as well. And I think obviously some of the low-hanging fruit we've seen is, and the obvious stuff is phishing emails. You hear about that all the time. I think one of the areas I'm watching and I'm concerned about is the ability to evade detection and refactor malware that, hey, maybe today can be detected very easily, tomorrow it may not be because of the AI. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I did hear this week, though, that the defender has the advantage, and I keep hearing that. So we're still ahead.
So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so there's a number of vendors I've been speaking to this week on this, and the insights are from a defender's point of view, and obviously what we're doing at Veeam, but other vendors as well, is leveraging AI just to give us those insights. But even we have something else called Veeam Intelligence, even to understand the products, because some of these products, there's more features being added, they're growing and evolving. The teams using them need guidance, and traditionally, they'd go on a training course, they read the documentation, and then they were left to use it as part of their day job. Whereas now with AI, and it's not so much a chatbot, but that guided AI assistant or guide to guide them through the product and help them understand the data and what they're seeing. I think that's key as well. We're going to see more of that. It's certainly something I've been seeing. I walked around the expo halls yesterday and saw a lot of that as well. But Red Canary, for example, they have a lot of threat intel and insights. And they're another one that says, yeah, from a defender point of view, we're ahead of the game. I think my concern is from a threat actor point of view is we're seeing, Lockbit was taken down last year. There's Blackbuster kind of gone stale at the moment, but they're still around. But what we've got to remember about these threat actors is we talk about them as groups, Lockbit, Blackbuster, Conti, the ones of the past, but they're still individuals. And while they do operate a bit like an enterprise, they have support teams, they have a ransomware as a service, at the end of the day, they're still individuals. And Scattered Spider is an interesting one because they're made up of UK, US, and Canadian citizens. But some of them are as young as 16 years old. So the concern I have is the lone wolf or the independent threat actor that may have been affiliated with these groups. As they get disbanded, they're going out alone or maybe forming other allegiances, but now using AI and some of the sophistication we're seeing. And it's interesting, one of the other areas I'm seeing with AI reminds me of the macro days. You all remember, this is probably back in the 90s for me, there was always the Excel wizard that had, they could use macros and do some great things. Well, AI, we've got the developers using it. So there's products out there like Cursor and Klein and Windscribe, these development environments with AI to help them code quicker, which is great. But then there's the knowledge worker. And as a knowledge worker is using tools like no code or low code, they're not developers, but they can use AI to develop capabilities. I see this meeting in the middle. So from an organizational point of view, that's fantastic. But if that lone wolf, going back to the ransomware threat actor, is using these technologies as well, that's an area I'm going to watch. I haven't seen a lot of it yet. As I say, I think that from a defender's point of view, we are ahead. We're ahead of the game. But that's something I'm watching. Hopefully I'm wrong, because I don't want to see that, because if it's going to evade detection with EDR platforms, it's going to make our lives as defenders that much more difficult.
Is there anything else you're seeing in terms of ransomware trends? You mentioned the use of AI, perhaps making it a level playing field for the less skilled attackers out there,
Sure.
The lone wolves. Anything else you're seeing?
Yeah, so we've actually got a ransomware trends report. We just released it last week by Veeam. And this is the first one we've actually combined insights from Coveware. So by the way, we acquired Coveware last year, and they provide incident response. They do a lot of intelligence and threat analysis of the ransomware groups. And what was interesting is we saw the number of organizations surveyed was about 1,300. And it came down from 75% to 69% of organizations that were hit by ransomware at least once. So it's coming down. That's great. The concern is that going to start rising again? Is it coming down because of the takedown of Lockbit and other groups? Or is it coming down because we're detecting much faster? I think it's a mixture of both. So again, it's an area to watch. But some great insights in that report, which is well worth a read if you get the chance.
Absolutely. So what are some tips for organizations based on those findings? Where are you seeing some of the gaps that could be filled?
In ransomware?
Yeah, specifically ransomware.
Yeah, I think to understand some of the initial attack vectors, phishing and social engineering, I think, is still number one. And I'd like to bring this back to the human factor. We can focus, especially at conferences like this, there's so much amazing technology, and we need that. But focusing on the human element. I'll give you an example. There was a case, I won't mention the name, but there was a cybersecurity company a few years ago. The ransomware group targeted the CEO's wife and their kids. And we're hearing a lot more of this. Technology cannot solve that. This is bringing that human factor in. And this is an area that concerns me, where the companies and organizations, they're getting they have the ability to recover now. Obviously, with Veeam, we're about ransomware recovery. We don't want to pay the threat actor. We've got to recover our data. So they're already looking at data exposure. They're leaking that online. Shame sites, I want to call it that. Forums, Telegram, the dark web. But they want to get paid. And we're seeing those tactics where they're targeting executives and their families. I don't know what we can do about that necessarily. We need to obviously educate beyond the social security awareness training internally, but we need to extend that to the execs and their families as well. Then there's deep fakes. We heard stories where I think it was a congressman had a call supposedly from his son who was in a car accident, and it wasn't. It was an AI voice clone. These are areas that really do concern me, because they're very compelling, very convincing. And as we see AI become more accessible, not just from a coding perspective and making their technology more sophisticated, it's carrying out more threats against us as human beings.
You have a very insightful view on the whole industry. What's your one message to security leaders, so what they can be doing right now in terms of defenses, technology, or people, processes, as we move forward? Okay,
well, I think this is a long answer for this, but let me start with the CISO. I think the role is evolving. My biggest tip today is stay ahead of these trends. Like AI, for example, and I'll share some things. There's a term called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. So as organizations are using AI, it's not just the chatbot and saying, write me an email and help me, help with my organizational goals. It's more than that, so it can retrieve information. There's another concept called MCPs, which is it's a new protocol called Model Context Protocol. And it enables you, and there's literally marketplaces for this, where employees can deploy a model to link to Google Drive or Dropbox or Salesforce, you name it, anything. And it's retrieving that data and bringing that into AI. The reason I mention this and this evolving role of the CISO is if they don't understand that, they could be caught off guard. And it kind of reminds me, if you think back, remember the shift left and DevSecOps? We did a lot of talking about that a few years ago. That was about applying guardrails, making sure there was a private repository for container images and developers to use and standardize that and really put the guardrails around that. And CISOs had to adapt and embrace that. And that was a good thing, and I think it still is. I see the same thing happening with AI. We don't want this problem of shadow IT again, where now there's shadow AI. It's the shades of shadow IT, where I mentioned the coming together from the developer and the knowledge worker meeting in the middle. I think the bad outcome of that is a CISO losing sight on what the organization's doing. It was like the cloud. I could get my credit card and I can spin up some cloud native services on Amazon or Google or Microsoft. That was fantastic, but we want to have those guardrails. And I think from the CISO, that role has to straddle legal, privacy, procurement, and it's talking to all parts of the organization. In fact, going back to our report, one of the things we see year after year after year, and our CISOs and CIOs are reporting on, is this divide between the security team and IT, but I think broadly more other parts of the organization as well.
Ray, I have so many follow-up questions, but we've come to time, unfortunately. Okay. This has been fascinating. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thanks so much.
And thank you so much for watching. For ISMG, I'm Anna Delaney.